The sky above the alien world burned in dull orange light. The sun, once golden and strong, was now weak, trembling like a candle about to die. Winds carried dust across the barren ground, and the air smelled like cold metal. Every creature knew their world was ending. In a small metal shelter far from the city ruins lived Soraya and her two little daughters, Lyra and Mira. Soraya sat beside a broken heater, wrapping her girls in torn blankets. Their faces were thin, their eyes too big for their small bodies. Mira's stomach growled softly. Lyra tried to smile and said, "Don't cry, Mira. Mama will find food soon." But they both knew the truth. There was no food left. Soraya looked at her daughters and felt pain deeper than any wound. Her body was weak, her skin pale with glowing blue veins, the mark of a Valyrian losing her life energy. Valyrians did not eat normal food. Their hearts produced life energy that fed them. But Soraya had been giving all her energy to keep her daughters alive. Her own heart was fading. Outside, the last markets were closing. Even the traders had begun to flee to other planets. But there was one place, dangerous, illegal, hidden, where desperate beings went when they had nothing left to trade but themselves. Soraya knew the name. The Black Exchange. That night, after putting her daughters to sleep, Soraya stood by the window. The dying sun glowed red behind her. She placed her hand over her chest, feeling the slow beat of her heart, her core. It was warm, soft, and alive. Every Valyrian heart was made of pure energy. If sold, it could power a human city for 100 years. She whispered, "Forgive me, my little ones." Before dawn, she covered her face with a dark scarf and walked out into the cold storm. Her feet sank into the frozen sand. Every step hurt, but her will was stronger than pain. She had only one goal: feed her daughters. Even if it cost her life. After hours of walking, she reached the edge of the human outpost, a rough place built with metal towers, smoke, and flickering lights. A huge neon sign blinked. Trade anything. No questions. Inside, the air was heavy with voices and greed. Soraya stepped carefully between strange creatures and humans. Behind a counter sat a fat alien trader with glass eyes and golden rings. He laughed when she spoke. "You want to sell your heart?" he said with disbelief. "You Valyrians are full of drama. No one buys a living heart. It dies the moment it leaves your body." Soraya lowered her head. "Then at least give me something for my daughters. They'll starve." The trader snorted. "Starve? We all will soon. The sun is dying, sweetheart." As she turned to leave, a voice came from the corner. Deep, quiet, human. "I'll buy it," the man said. Everyone turned. The human stepped forward. He was tall, dressed in a worn pilot's coat, with a calm face and tired eyes. His name was Elias. The trader laughed again. "You? Do you even know what it is?" Elias nodded. "A Valyrian heart doesn't die easily. It adapts. It remembers. I'll pay." Soraya looked at him, confused. "Why? Why would you buy my heart?" Elias met her eyes. "Because I think some things deserve to live, even if their world doesn't." Her breath caught. For a long time, no one had spoken to her with kindness. Slowly, she nodded. "Then take it. But promise me one thing. Feed my daughters when I'm gone." Elias's eyes softened. "I promise." The trader shrugged, counting credits. Madness, all of it. Soraya lay on the cold metal table, her hand trembling as Elias prepared the energy chamber. As her vision blurred, she saw flashes of her daughters, their small smiles, their laughter, their hunger. Tears rolled down her cheeks. When the operation began, a faint light rose from her chest, bright and blue, floating in the air like a living flame. Elias caught it gently, sealed it in a crystal container, and placed it close to his heart. Soraya whispered her last words before the darkness took her. "Make sure they live." Outside, the dying sun flickered one last time, and the world fell silent. When Soraya's eyes opened again, the world around her was dim and quiet. The pain in her chest was sharp, but the beat she used to feel, the steady rhythm of her heart, was gone. Only a soft humming sound filled her ears. She looked down and saw a faint glow through her skin, a weak synthetic biocore beating slowly like a dying ember. Her body trembled. For the first time in her life, she felt empty. Across the room stood Elias, the human who had bought her heart. He held a small crystal case in his hands. Inside it floated her real heart, still glowing, still alive, still warm. It pulsed softly with light as if it was still connected to her soul. He looked at her and spoke quietly. "You're awake. Don't move too fast. The synthetic core will keep you alive for a while." Soraya struggled to sit up, her breathing shallow. "Why?" she whispered. "Why didn't you just let me die?" Elias didn't answer right away. He turned the crystal in his hands, watching the blue light dance across his scarred fingers. "Because I've seen too much death," he said finally. "And yours didn't feel right. You didn't sell your heart for greed, you did it for love." Soraya's eyes filled with tears, but her voice was cold. "Love doesn't feed the hungry." He nodded slowly. "No. But maybe compassion can." Elias reached into his coat and placed a small metal box beside her. Inside were glowing energy capsules, rare food units used on the outer colonies, enough to feed her daughters for months. Soraya stared at the box, her hands shaking. How can I ever repay you?" "You already did," Elias said softly, placing the crystal case inside a protective chamber. "You gave me a piece of something I can't understand. I only ask one thing in return. Raise your daughters to remember that not all humans are cruel." Hours passed. The storm outside grew louder, wind screaming across the metal outpost. Soraya could barely stand, but she insisted on leaving. "They're waiting for me," she said, pulling her thin cloak around her. Elias followed her to the door. "It's dangerous out there. The radiation storms are getting worse." "I've lived in worse," she said with a faint smile. Elias admired her strength, a mother whose world was collapsing, yet she still walked forward with fire in her eyes. He opened the door for her and handed her a small beacon. "If you ever need help, activate this. It will send a signal to my ship." Soraya took it gently. "You're strange, human." "Maybe," Elias replied, "but I believe in debts that go both ways." She looked back once, the dying sunlight painting her silver skin in gold. "Then I hope the universe treats you kindly, Elias." He watched her disappear into the storm, a shadow walking toward a dying horizon. The sound of her footsteps faded, but the glow from the heart in his hands pulsed stronger. That night, Elias sat alone in his small ship. The heart floated in its chamber, casting blue light across the metal walls. He stared at it for hours, thinking of the woman who had given it away without fear. He whispered to himself, "What kind of being gives their heart to save others?" The heart pulsed brighter, as if it hurt him. For a moment, Elias thought he could feel a heartbeat, not his, not hers, but something shared. It was warm, alive, and strangely human. He closed his eyes, feeling peace for the first time in years. The ship's system beeped softly, as if responding to the heart's rhythm. The energy inside the crystal seemed to merge with his ship's power. Unknowingly, he had taken something more than a heart. He had taken a living force, one that carried memories, emotion, and will. It was almost as if Soraya's soul had followed him. Far away, in a broken shelter under the dying sun, Lyra and Mira awoke as a strange light filled the room. Their mother was there, weak but alive, holding food capsules and smiling through tears. "We'll be okay," Soraya whispered, hugging them tight. "A human helped us." Mira tilted her head. "Humans are good?" Soraya smiled faintly. "Some are, and one day, you'll understand why." Outside, the final rays of the dying sun touched the sky, turning it a deep crimson. Somewhere in The distance, a small ship lifted off, carrying a glowing heart that refused to stop beating. A heart that would one day bring two worlds together. Years passed like dust carried by the dying wind. The Valyrian sun, once a golden flame in the heavens, had long faded into a red shadow. The once beautiful cities of silver now stood as dark skeletons, silent and empty. The proud race of light had fallen into history, their songs forgotten by the stars. But not everyone was gone. On a small mining colony near the human border, two young women lived under false names, Lyra and Mira, the daughters of Soraya. They were no longer the starving children of the dying world. Time had hardened them. Lyra had grown fierce and cold, her once gentle eyes now sharp as glass. Mira, the younger one, carried the same warmth their mother once had, soft, kind, and full of hope. They worked long hours in the colony's metal foundry, hiding their glowing blue veins under thick gloves. To the humans around them, they were just two refugees from some forgotten world. No one knew they were Valyrian, the last of their kind. Every night Mira looked at the small silver pendant her mother had left her. Inside it was a tiny shard of glowing crystal, a fragment from the beacon Elias had given Soraya years ago. When she touched it, it hummed softly, as if whispering secrets from far away. "Do you ever think about her?" Mira asked one night, sitting beside her sister as they stared out at the endless dark sky. Lyra didn't look up. "Every day." "Do you think she's proud of us?" Lyra's jaw tightened. "Proud? She died because of humans. If they hadn't invaded, if they hadn't taken everything from us, she'd still be alive." Mira sighed. "Not all humans are cruel, Lyra." Mother said, "Mother was wrong." Lyra snapped, her eyes glowing faintly blue. "She trusted one of them. She gave him her heart, remember? And what did he give us back? Nothing, he took it and vanished." Mira looked down silent. Deep in her heart, she didn't believe Elias was a thief. She still remembered her mother's last smile, gentle, peaceful. A woman who had believed in kindness even in her final breath. But words could not heal wounds that ran that deep. The next day, a storm swept across the colony, a storm not of weather, but of fire. The mining alarms screamed as ships appeared in the sky, their metal wings cutting through the clouds. Raiders. They were human scavengers, hunting for refugees and scrap. The colony guards fought, but the raiders were too strong. Explosions tore through the ground as people ran for cover. Lyra grabbed Mira's hand. "Stay behind me." They ran through smoke and chaos, but a collapsing tower blocked their path. As the fire grew near, Mira fell, hitting the ground hard. Lyra turned back, dragging her up, but then they both froze. A ship was descending through the flames. Not a raider ship, something older, darker, and silent. Its hull shimmered with silver light, marked with an ancient symbol neither of them had seen in years, the symbol of their mother's people. The ship landed, crushing the burning wreckage beneath it. The ramp lowered and a figure stepped out. An old human man with silver hair walking slowly, holding a black metal case. His clothes were worn, his eyes tired. Mira gasped. "Lyra, it's him." Lyra's eyes widened, her fist trembling. "The human who bought her heart?" The man looked at them with a faint smile, full of sorrow, full of purpose. "I've been searching for you," he said. His voice was soft, but the sound of it cut through the chaos like a bell. "I made a promise to your mother." He opened the metal case. Inside was a crystal chamber, glowing, alive, pulsing softly like a living thing. Their mother's heart. For a long moment, time seemed to stop. The storm, the screams, the fire, everything faded. Lyra couldn't breathe. That can't be real." Mira stepped closer, her hands shaking. The light from the crystal reflected in her eyes and she whispered, "It's her. I can feel her." The man, Elias, nodded slowly. "It still beats. It's been keeping me alive all these years, but it's not mine. It never was." He looked at them with eyes that had seen too much loss. "It's time to give it back." Lightning flashed across the dark sky as the world seemed to hold its breath. Two daughters faced the man who carried their mother's heart, a heart that had crossed time, death and stars to find them again, and above them, The dying sun flared one last time, as if the universe itself was watching. The storm howled through the burning colony, but inside the broken hangar all was silent. Lyra and Mira stood frozen before the old human, their mother's heart glowing between them like a blue star trapped in glass. Elias looked fragile, his body marked with scars, his face tired from time and guilt. Yet his eyes still held the same quiet strength they once had when he promised a dying mother he would protect her children. Lyra's voice broke the silence first. You should be dead." Elias gave a faint smile. "Maybe I should. But this," he lifted the crystal case, "kept me alive far longer than any man should live." The light from the heart pulsed, soft but steady, and every beat seemed to echo in the air. Mira stepped closer, feeling warmth brush against her skin. It was familiar, like her mother's embrace. "That's impossible," Lyra whispered, her hands shaking. "Her heart. It can't still be alive," Elias nodded slowly. "It is alive, because it wasn't just an organ. It was power, love, sacrifice. It never died. It only waited." Outside, the raiders regrouped, shouting orders through the storm. The ground trembled as ships circled above. But inside that hangar it felt like another world. A world made of memories, promises, and old wounds. Elias walked toward them, each step heavy. "I came to return what I took, but I also came to tell you the truth." Lyra's eyes burned with anger. "Truth? You stole our mother's life." Elias didn't raise his voice. "No, she gave it to me, freely, liar." Lyra shouted, pointing at the glowing case. "You humans always take and destroy. You took her heart, her life, and left us with nothing." Mira grabbed her sister's arm. "Lyra, stop." "Look at it, it's still beating. Maybe he's telling the truth." Lyra turned, tears in her eyes. "You believe him? After everything?" Mira didn't answer. She just kept staring at the heart. Each pulse grew stronger, matching the rhythm of her own heartbeat. Elias lowered the crystal gently onto a crate. "Your mother's last words were about you," she said. "Tell them not to hate the stars for shining on others." I didn't understand it back then, but now I do. Mira's lips trembled. You were there when she—" "I was," Elias said softly. "I saw her strength. I saw what love really meant. She didn't sell her heart for food. She gave it to save a life, mine." Lyra's anger turned to confusion. "Save you? From what?" "The war," Elias said. "Humans were dying on her world. I was a soldier, lost, injured, and ready to die. Your mother found me in the ruins and shared part of her heart's energy to heal me. It burned her life away, but she smiled while doing it. She said no one should die alone." The words hit like thunder. Mira covered her mouth as tears streamed down her face. Lyra looked away, fists clenched, her whole body trembling. "She saved you, and you came back for us?" Lyra said bitterly. Elias nodded. "Because she deserved more than to be forgotten." "Because I promised." Suddenly the hangar doors exploded inward. Raiders stormed in, weapons glowing red. "There, the human thief!" "He has alien tech," one shouted. Elias turned, shielding the crystal. "Stay back." Lyra stepped forward, her blue veins glowing with energy. For years she had hidden what she was, but not anymore. She raised her hands, and light burst from her palms like lightning. The raiders screamed as the energy hit, scattering them. Mira gasped. "Lyra!" Lyra stood tall, eyes blazing. "No more running." Elias watched in awe, the power of their mother burning in both of them. The heart glowed brighter, responding to their emotions, but the attack had drawn attention. More ships descended from the clouds. The hangar roof cracked, sending dust and metal falling around them. Elias stumbled toward the sisters. "We have to go now." Lyra hesitated, staring at him. "Why should we trust you?" "Because your mother did," he said. Something in his voice, soft, tired, honest, made her pause. She nodded slowly. Together they ran toward his ship as explosions thundered behind them. Elias placed the glowing heart inside the ship's core. Instantly, the engines roared to life with blue light. The heart's energy merged with the ship, lifting it into the sky. Through the viewport, Mira looked down at the burning colony, the only home they'd ever known, now falling apart. Lyra clenched her fists, whispering, "This isn't over." Elias looked at the two sisters, then at the heart pulsing between them. No, he said quietly. It's just beginning. The ship vanished into the storm, leaving behind a dying world and carrying within it a heart that refused to stop beating. The ship soared through the storm, tearing across the skies of the dying colony. Inside, the air was tense, heavy with silence and old pain. Elias sat in the pilot's seat, his hands steady but his eyes distant. The glowing heart pulsed softly in the core chamber behind him, its blue light filling the cabin like a calm ocean wave. Across from him sat Lyra, arms crossed, her jaw tight, eyes burning with anger. Beside her, Mira leaned against the wall, watching the heart's light reflect across her sister's face. No one spoke for a long time. Finally, Lyra's voice broke the silence like a blade. "Where are you taking us?" Elias didn't turn. "Somewhere safe. There's a small planet not far from here. It's quiet. No one will find us there," Lyra scoffed. "You mean no one will find you? The thief running from his crimes." "Lyra," Mira began softly, but Lyra stood up, her anger boiling. "He's lying, Mira. He stole our mother's heart and now he's trying to use us to escape. Look at him. He's human, and humans never do anything without wanting something back." Elias sighed. "You think I haven't asked myself the same question? Why a human like me would come back to two alien girls he doesn't know? Believe me, I could have left, but your mother's heart wouldn't let me." Lyra's eyes flashed. "Don't you dare use her heart as an excuse." The lights in the cabin flickered. The energy from the heart surged suddenly, as if reacting to Lyra's rage. The hum grew louder, deeper, almost alive. Mira grabbed her sister's hand. "Stop, Lyra. You're upsetting it." Lyra pulled away. "Let it break. Maybe then we'll finally be free of all this." Elias turned sharply. "You don't understand that heart is alive. It feels you. Every emotion, every thought. If it breaks, it could destroy us all." For a moment, everything froze. The air crackled with tension and grief. Lyra's voice softened, trembling. "You say it's alive. Then why couldn't it save her?" No one answered. Only the steady hum of the heart filled the silence. Hours later, the ship entered the orbit of a small moon, half ice, half stone. They landed near a canyon of glowing crystals. The blue light from the heart reflected off the frozen walls, making the entire cave shimmer like a dream. Elias set up camp beside a metal console. "We'll rest here tonight," he said quietly. Lyra walked to the edge of the cave, staring into the cold void of space. Mira followed her, wrapping her arms around her sister. "You're still angry," she whispered. "I'm not angry," Lyra said softly. "I'm lost," Mira smiled sadly. "Then let's find something again." For the first time, Lyra's eyes softened. She looked back at Elias sitting by the heart's chamber, his head bowed as if in prayer. "What is he doing?" she asked. "Listening," Mira said. "Maybe he hears her." Elias sat quietly, hands folded, eyes closed. The heart glowed brighter, its rhythm steady, patient. And then, faintly, he heard a voice. Soft, familiar. "Elias." "You found them." His breath caught. "Soraya," he whispered. "They carry my light. Protect them. They are the bridge between our worlds." The glow faded gently. Elias opened his eyes, heart pounding. He turned to the sisters. "Your mother's spirit, it's still here. She's guiding us," Lyra frowned. "You expect us to believe that?" Before Elias could reply, the ship's alarm screamed. Red lights flashed. A hologram flickered to life on the console. Human warships closing in fast. "They tracked us," Elias said, voice tense. "They want the heart." Lyra clenched her fists. "Of course they do. Humans destroy everything they touch." Elias grabbed his weapon, his voice firm. "I won't let them take it." "Not again," he turned to Mira. "Stay close. And if something happens to me, you protect your sister." Mira's voice shook. "No, Elias, we protect each other." The roar of engines filled the air. Explosions shook the cave walls as the first strike hit. Dust rained down from above. Lyra stepped forward, eyes glowing blue. Elias tried to stop her. "Lyra," too late. She raised her hands, channeling the same energy her mother once gave away. Blue lightning tore through the cave, striking the incoming ships with blinding force. The ground cracked beneath her feet as her veins glowed brighter than ever. Mira screamed. "Stop, you'll kill yourself." Lyra shouted back, tears streaming down her face. "I won't let them take her again." Elias shielded his eyes as the blast lit the sky, a storm of light and fury. When it ended, silence fell. The ships were gone. The cave was still, and Lyra collapsed to her knees, trembling. Elias ran to her, catching her before she fell. Her eyes fluttered open weakly. Did we win? He looked up at the sky, now clear and quiet. For now, he said softly. Mira held her sister close, crying. Don't ever do that again. Lyra managed a faint smile. You sound like Mother. And somewhere deep in the ship's core, the glowing heart pulsed once more. Stronger, warmer, as if proud of them all. The moon was quiet after the storm. The air still shimmered faintly with leftover energy from Lyra's blast, painting the icy cliffs in soft blue light. The raider ships were gone, vaporized by her rage, but the silence they left behind was heavy. Inside the cave, Mira sat beside her sister, pressing a cloth against Lyra's forehead. Lyra's breathing was shallow, her skin pale, the blue veins under her skin dim and fading. The outburst had drained her almost completely. Elias sat a few steps away, his face buried in his hands. The heart, Soraya's heart, floated quietly in its chamber, glowing steady and calm as if untouched by the chaos. Will she be okay? Mira asked, her voice trembling. Elias looked up, guilt shadowing his face. She burned through too much of her life force. Valyrians aren't meant to channel that much energy, but... He paused, eyes shifting toward the glowing heart. There might be a way. Mira followed his gaze. You think it can help her? He nodded slowly. Maybe it's time we see what your mother really left behind. Elias stood and approached the crystal chamber. The blue light inside pulsed gently, almost like it was breathing. He placed his hand on the glass. Your mother once told me that Valyrian hearts are not just energy, he said softly. They hold memory, thoughts, feelings, even souls, like living archives. He pressed a small device to the glass, and the ship's console flickered to life. The glowing veins of the heart spread like a network of stars, and then a voice filled the room. Soft, familiar, kind. If you are hearing this, my name is Soraya. I am the mother of Lyra and Mira. Mira gasped. Lyra's eyes fluttered open weakly, her lips parting in disbelief. I know you must have many questions, and I know my daughters must be angry with me, but please, listen before your hearts turn cold. The hologram formed above the crystal, Soraya's image made of light and memory. She looked just as they remembered, calm, beautiful, her eyes glowing softly with blue warmth. Long ago, during the war, I found a human soldier, dying under the ruins of our city. His name was Elias. He was the enemy, but I could not watch another life fade. So I gave him part of my core to keep him alive. He tried to stop me. But I did it anyway, because compassion is stronger than fear. Lyra turned her face away, tears slipping down. When our world began to die, I knew I couldn't protect you both. The storms were coming, food was gone. I found Elias again. I gave him my heart. Not because I wanted to die, but because I trusted him to live. To keep my light alive when I could not, and maybe one day to bring it back to you. Elias bowed his head. The image flickered, her voice softer now, like wind through a memory. My daughters, never let hate be your strength. Let love be your weapon. Because love never ends and it only changes form. The hologram dimmed and her final words echoed like a lullaby. I'll always be with you. In every beat. The chamber went silent. Only the soft hum of the heart remained. Mira sobbed openly, clutching her chest. She really saved him. Lyra wiped her tears, her anger gone, replaced by something deeper. All this time I thought she was betrayed. But she chose it. She chose kindness. Elias turned toward them, his eyes wet. Your mother saved me twice. Once with her light and once with her faith. I tried to live worthy of that faith, but I failed to protect her world. Lyra shook her head weakly. You kept her promise. You came back. The heart pulsed brightly, its glow spreading across the cave. Lyra's body twitched, her veins lighting up once again. The energy flowed from the chamber into her chest, filling her with warmth and life. Mira gasped. It's healing her. Elias stepped back, awe in his voice. It's not just healing her, and it's recognizing her. It knows its blood. Lyra's breathing steadied. Her eyes opened, glowing soft blue. She sat up slowly, feeling the hum of her mother's energy moving through her veins. She's here, Lyra whispered. I can feel her. The heart continued to pulse, now calmer, peaceful. Elias smiled through tears. She's proud of you. Both of you. Outside, the first light of dawn touched the icy horizon. The warships were gone, the storm had faded. For the first time in years, peace filled the air. Lyra stood beside Mira, watching the sunrise, the heart glowing between them like a third heartbeat. Our mother didn't die for nothing, Mira said softly. Lyra nodded. No, she lived in all of us, and now it's our turn to carry her light. Elias looked up at the sky, whispering to the wind. She was right. Love never ends. The blue glow rose higher, casting light into the cold morning. A promise reborn among the stars. The dawn on the frozen moon was unlike any before. The pale light of the dying star touched the horizon, painting the ice in soft blue and silver. For the first time in many years there was silence, not the silence of death, but the silence that comes after a storm. Inside the cave, the air glowed faintly with warmth from the heart that once belonged to Soraya. It floated gently inside the crystal chamber, its rhythm calm and alive. Every beat sent waves of light across the walls, making them shimmer like living glass. Elias, weak but smiling, watched the two sisters, Lyra and Mira, standing before the heart. They no longer looked like refugees or frightened girls. They stood tall, proud, and strong, their mother's daughters in every way. Lyra placed her hand on the glass. The hum of the heart matched her pulse perfectly. She closed her eyes and whispered, "It's like she's breathing through us." Mira nodded, smiling softly. She never really left. Elias leaned on his cane, his voice rough but gentle. "Your mother always said that love is the only thing that can cross time, space, and even death. I never understood. Until now," Lyra turned to him. "You kept your promise. You brought her back." Elias shook his head. "No, child. She brought me back. From who I used to be." The cave trembled lightly as the heart's glow expanded, filling the air with radiant light. It was beautiful, warm, alive, almost divine. Mira gasped as the light touched the ice around them. The frozen walls began to melt, not into water but into life. Green light spread through the ground. Tiny roots, glowing and soft, burst through cracks in the stone. They grew quickly, wrapping around the walls like vines. The frozen moon was changing, reborn by Soraya's energy. "It's creating life," Mira exclaimed, eyes wide. Elias smiled faintly. Her heart was never meant to power machines or ships. It was meant to heal. Lyra turned to him, realization dawning in her eyes. "Then, if we return it to her homeworld, maybe we can bring it back too." Elias looked at her, and for the first time in years, hope filled his tired eyes. "Yes, we can finish what she started." The three of them worked through the night. The ship was repaired, powered once again by the pulsing glow of Soraya's heart. When the engines roared to life, the sound was not harsh like before. It was harmonious, like music carried by the wind. As they rose above the moon's surface, Mira looked out at the stars. "Do you think our planet still exists?" Elias smiled. "If her heart still beats, then somewhere her world does too." The stars stretched into bright lines as the ship entered lightspeed. The journey was long, but the glow from the heart guided them like a mother leading her children home. Days later, they reached what was once Valyria, a dead world floating in silence. The surface was covered in ash and dust. The great silver towers were gone, swallowed by time. Yet when the ship descended, the heart inside the chamber began to beat faster, stronger. "She remembers this place," Mira whispered. Lyra's voice trembled. "Then let's bring her home." Elias helped them carry the crystal chamber to the planet's surface. The air was thin and cold, but beneath the ash, faint lines of old energy still glowed, the veins of the planet's soul. Lyra knelt and placed the heart inside a circular stone cradle, the same place where the Valyrian life energy once flowed. "Goodbye, Mother," she whispered. "Rest now." But as soon as her hand touched the stone, the ground trembled. The heart's light grew brighter, blinding, radiant, endless. A pulse shot through the ground, and for miles around, the dead soil began to change. Green light spread like fire. Flowers of blue flame rose from the dust. Rivers of glowing water broke through the earth. The wind carried the sound of soft music, the same melody their mother once hummed. Mira fell to her knees, tears streaming down her face. "She's not resting," she whispered. "She's awakening." Elias looked around in awe, his voice breaking. She gave her heart to save life, and even death couldn't stop her. Lyra and Mira held each other as the world around them came alive. The sky turned from gray to deep gold. The dead planet was reborn, not through machines or power, but through love that refused to die. Later, as the sun rose again over a living Valyria, Elias sat on a hill overlooking the glowing valley. The sisters stood beside him, silent but smiling. Mira whispered, "Do you think she can see us?" Elias nodded slowly. "She doesn't need to see. She feels you, every heartbeat, every breath." Lyra closed her eyes, placing her hand over her chest. "Then she's home." Above them, the sky shimmered with a faint blue aurora, like a mother's final embrace stretching across the heavens. And deep in the heart of the reborn world, Soraya's light continued to beat, not as one being, but as all who carried her love forward. For in the end, it wasn't science or war or power that saved them. It was the one force that never truly dies, a mother's heart.